I've been meaning to clear out the loft space in my garage for years, as I know something has been living up there and causing all sorts of damage. I finally did it and had some fun digging through old boxes and finding old tech and toys I hadn't seen for a very long time. It's kind of random what stuff I kept over the years. I found some garbage pail stickers, which makes me want to collect those again. Star Wars toys, lots and lots of DVDs and CDs, and of course, the obligatory box of jumbled cables. Nobody throws those away, right? My biggest find though, without any shadow of a doubt, finally puts to rest the old age question of what is the best ZX Spectrum game. People often make lists based on nostalgia for certain games, fond memories of Jetpack or Death Chase and so on, but I actually found something much more than that. I found this. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing here is my games book, some of my best games, which me and my best mate at the time, when we were about 13 or maybe 14, I'm not sure, put together with some awesome screenshots cut out of Crash Magazine of all of our favourite games, rated and listed. Now, this surely must be the absolute oracle of what the best ZX Spectrum game is ever. Now, why it's some of the best games and not all of them, we'll never know. Kind of adds to the mystery. But here's the rating system. 10 top of the charts, 9 very good, 8 good, 7 alright, 6 better than average, 5, well that's halfway there, 4 below half mark, 3 poor, 2 bad as 1, and 1, 4, get it. That seems to be 2 words there. Says a bit about the education system in the 80s. And we've got some abbreviations at the top there. We've got Mega Smash Hit, which is MSH, Smash Hit, Smash Hit, which is SH, and Hit. Although I couldn't actually find any instance of these in the list, so maybe that was an afterthought. I'm not sure. But quite interestingly, looking through the list of games, some old classic games got a bit of a pasting there. Jetpack got a score of 4. I mean, come on, seriously. Manic Miner, 6. So the older games by this point were considered antique. Bruce Lee, which is one of my all-time favourite games now, 5. How harsh is that? We had moved on, 128k games all the way. Saboteur there, look, 4. 4 for Saboteur. What a great game. Jet Set Willy and Death Chase here, 4 and 6. I mean, there's some games here that got 1, but I mean, Energy Fields and Go to Jail, neither of which I remember. Chucky Egg, which I recently did a video on, 5. One of my all-time favourite games ever, and it got a 5. Crazy. So anyway, 15 games in this oracle got a score of 8 and above. So we're going to count them down. I've tried to think hard about which games I think 13-year-old me liked more than others on the same score. So stick around, as even though there are some obvious choices, there are some games you would never guess in a gazillion years. I certainly didn't. So here we go. At number 15, we have a rather obscure movie tie-in which kind of fascinated me as a kid. Death Wish 3. If you're not familiar with the movies, they're often criticised for their high body count and general high violence. They're also a bit shit. I mean, they're directed by Michael Winner, for fuck's sake. Do you remember him? But not being old enough to watch them lured me towards playing the game instead. I mean, it's going to be the same, right? Well, I must have thought so because I love the notion of running and gunning anything that moves down. All that aside, the game does look pretty good, although the gameplay now feels a bit too repetitive. As far as I'm aware, there's no real finish to the game. Kill all the gang leaders and after a short time new riots will break out and off you go again. I never got that far, I just enjoyed using the rocket launcher and leaving piles of exploded bodies everywhere. Nice. At number 14 we have a game that confused me to begin with as to why I liked it so much. Andy Cat was a cartoon strip in the Daily Mirror newspaper which I would have been aware of as a teenager but certainly not a fan. I seem to have been drawn to games that allowed me to roam around and do what I want. Escapism maybe, I'm not sure, but I know I sunk hours into this one. It's definitely a game of its time though. You've got to keep your alcohol level up throughout and avoid punching your wife or getting into scraps with the fuzz. All whilst trying to raise some cash for the missus after blowing all your benefits. Playing it now, it's kind of slow, but still fantastic to look at. Really grabs the essence of the comic strip with the big sprites and monochrome colours, which kind of helps on the specky. Okay, I definitely get why I love this game. I'm not sure I ever got that far in it, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. A slight change in pace for number 13, as we have Ikari Warriors. I always felt like it was a worthy successor to Commando, which was also heavily played for a while. A lot of my time playing Spectrum games as a teenager and before that would have been with friends. So to have such a massively playable two-player game like this feature in this list is really no-brainer. With the awesome tanks you could jump into and just obliterate everything, this game rocked. It also looked and sounded pretty decent too, with cool explosions and grenade noises. Classic game, although I don't think I ever finished it. Number 12 is an unusual one as it's an early title, which by the time this book were written were mostly shunned. But Ant Attack obviously still stuck out. It's easy to see why as it still looks great now. The controls were always a little janky, but in some ways that added to the terrifying panic when you were being chased by a massive ant, and if you fecked up your direction of your jump, you were a goner. This game always scared me a little bit, but I loved it, and still do. David Rowe's artwork for the cassette box is still some of my favourite, and worked wonders for my imagination at the time. I must get round to ordering a signed print from his website. I'll put a link in the description if you ever want to take a look. Another bizarre one at number 11, and not a game I would have even thought had been highly rated, mainly because I don't remember playing the blimmin' thing. Top Gun was not even a film I have massive nostalgia for, so why did I love the game so much? After revisiting it, I'm still not sure. I mostly remember the takeoff sequence, but the rest of it, no, nada, zilch. I can only conclude it was the two-player game that me and my mate enjoyed the most. Perhaps we sunk time in this game only when playing together, as that mode would have been a lot of fun back then. Who knows? Top 10 time now with Microsphere's final game, Contact Sam Cruise. Using what must have been the same engine in School Days, it's an interesting puzzle adventure that is graphically excellent. Unlike Top Gun, I do remember this, and I also remember getting so immersed in the characters and the story, although once again I'm not sure if I ever completed it. I would say I didn't, as I clearly remember completing School Days and Back to School from the same team. On playing it again now though, I enjoyed it the way you enter the buildings but still view things from the outside, costume changes and the mayhem that ensued with shootouts and chases. I found it really playable now, and it certainly hit my nostalgia bone. Shame it wasn't more of a hit when it was released, although Microsphere did put a large blame of that on software piracy, as that was the end of the company, which was so rife back in the day. Using the same Film Nation 2 engine as Nightshade, and criticised at the time for its similarities to the latter, this was probably my favourite isometric game in the Ultimate series. The Wild West theme really appealed, and the clear bright graphics made the experience a fun one. I loved how the townsfolk pointed to the whereabouts of your bounty, and the mini-games for extra cash or for killing the bounties are fun too. Still thoroughly enjoy this one, so I was pleased to see it in this list. I remember getting quite far in the game, and certainly remember using the pantomime horse to track down enemies, enemies, but not sure I ever completed this one, if indeed you can. Match day was brilliant on the Specky, but John Rittman outdid himself with this fantastic follow-up. It introduced a kickometer, which was fun, but more importantly the ball bounced off players, which means you could head the ball and deflect towards goal. With cup and league competitions, this was a classic playing solo or with friends. Yes, playing now it's really slow, but I was still addicted, wanting to play just that one more game. It's the only sports title to make the list, but what a title. Worthy of any list or chart as the best sports game on the beloved Specky. The size of the sprites on this next game blew my tiny teenage mind. Don Priestley had used the visual style previously in Popeye before replicating what he had done then when offered the chance to write Trapdoor for Piranha Software. Everything that made the clay animated TV series so popular was so well achieved here visually. The gameplay was great too, and it really showed what the Spectrum could do when it was pushed. Truly remarkable. I remember parts of the game were frustrating, like collecting the worms, or just that slow lack of urgency Burke has for anything. Still, it played very well then, and it still holds up today. Back to School took what was already a clever concept, know your audience right, with school days, and they turned it up a notch. With the addition of a girls' school and more varied gameplay, I played hours and hours of this gem, changing teachers and kids' names to be more relevant, working out how to sneak into the girls' school, plus all the other mischief you could get up to with stink bombs, mice, and getting the teachers drunk. This game really had the lot when you escaped the monotony of school by playing a game at school. Like Contact Sam Cruise and School Days, the graphics are sharp and detailed enough to really bring it to life. I proper loved this game at a school age. I've not played it in a long time, and although it hits different now, it's still friggin' awesome. One of my all-time favourites. There is a definite pattern with the games on show here. Lots of games where you can roam certain locations. An element of freedom I seem to seek out when choosing what to play when I was younger. This game has an element of that, but also is a little on rails with its platform elements. Like Back to School previously, it plays to its audience. Of course kids are going to lap up playing a naughty baby who has got to get up to mischief in order to increase his naughtiometer. Great puzzles and clear, well-defined graphics made this an instant hit. So much so that your Sinclair even ran a Jack the Nipper cartoon strip. Great stuff. Another interesting one at number 4 with the arcade classic Bubble Bobble. I have fond memories of playing this one on my friend's Commodore 64, which I hate to admit had the superior version, but I have little memory of playing the Specky version. Saying that, it really does play very well and it does look pretty decent. The soundtrack on the 128K is also comparable to other versions and it does move along really quickly. I had as much enjoyment playing it on the Specky again as any other port, and that is saying something. Top 3 time now, and this is one I do remember playing a lot, and I also remember the reasons why. Here's how it went. On any given school day before leaving the house in the morning, I would load Rampage up and leave my Spectrum on. Come lunchtime, me and a few mates would go back to my house, as I only lived a few minutes from school, and spend as much of the lunch hour as we could playing Rampage. This happened a lot. We used to have so much fun destroying the buildings and eating the humans that it did mean the hour went really quickly. But it was some of my best school memories. Again, I always thought this game looked great on the Specky, and it still does today. It plays smooth even when there's loads going on. What a great title. Published by Ocean in 1986, I always think of The Great Escape as an older title in the Spectrum's lifetime, but I think that's mainly because I continued playing it for so damn long. Based on the movie with the same name, this, like Back to School, was a game where you had to follow the routine, or rules if you like, and find opportunities to get up no good, i.e. escape. What I loved about this game was there's more than one route to freedom, and even just playing along as a prisoner of war, automatically or not, seemed fun to me at the time. The game also felt massive, like you had so much to explore in such a wide playing area, and the tunnel parts of the game really gave a sense of nervous claustrophobia. I actually think Where Time Stood Still, which was possibly too late for our best games book, was just as good, and clearly used the same engine, as they had so much success with The Great Escape. Why not go again? Denton Designs certainly knew what they were doing, as graphically the game still holds up today. I love how some games on the Spectrum used its limitations to such great effect by not overcomplicating the graphics, but still giving the kid playing the game a real sense of immersion. Like Back to School, the game hits a little different returning to it now as an adult, but it still has all the ingredients that make me appreciate it for what it is. Just a simply stunning game. And we come to the top spot, which is a game I think exists on a lot of people's top 10 lists, if not number 1 games on the ZX Spectrum. An interesting game, as after acquiring the license for the home ports of Renegade, which was a huge hit on the Spectrum, Ocean decided to continue releasing Renegade games on their own. We won't mention the third game, don't worry, but Target Renegade was the second in the series and also the best of them. Released under their Imagine label, the biggest difference between Target and the first game was the ability to play with 2 players. As previously stated, this was a big draw for teenage me. Playing Renegade with a mate on 5 new levels? Yes please. The levels were fairly tough though, and it used to get frustrating when it took some time to get all the way to level 5 only to die and start all over. But start all over we did, as I know we completed this game a few times. Completing it didn't stop us playing though, it just played so nice. The graphics like the first one are excellent, but what really stands out is the gameplay. The different moves available on such a simple button layout are brilliant. Characters move slowly, but that was fine. It all moved at a pace which made it perfect at getting your kicks just right when knocking motorbike riders off, etc. This is one of those games that I still play from time to time now. I'm still friends with my old mate from back then who did the book with me, and we both turn 50 next year. It'll be nice if we manage a beer at some point and sit down and play a bit of Target Renegade and reminisce about the good old days, where your only worry was if the game was going to load before dinner was ready. Happy days. I'll leave you with a bit of Target action now, but as always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.